What's going on, guys? Welcome back to F1 2021 for My Team Career Mode, Season 4, Round number 10, the Dutch Grand Prix. We're back at Zandvoort for another race after missing it last season. It's another track that I've really not had the best luck around. Both seasons have just been way off the pace. I think we might have actually had a DNF here in Season 2. We didn't, I don't think, in Season 1, but just didn't have good pace. And then, yeah, I think Season 2 we may have had a DNF here from what I remember, so definitely not the best. Thankfully though, managed to make it through to Q2, so that's something. I was almost half expecting not to get through to Q2 here, even though I've done the AI difficulty calculator. I've even put it down for AI difficulty from where it told me to put it. Still in Q1, we only just made it through to Q2, literally P16, about a tenth away from going out, which isn't great. And obviously, yeah, didn't make it through to Q3, unfortunately got eliminated in Q2, and that's just, you know, AI difficulty. It told me to put the AI difficulty on 90. I put it on 86 because generally in the quicker fully fledged cars, when all the teams are very close to each other, seems to be more difficult and not as, you have to put the difficulty down a little bit on a lot of tracks. So I put it down by 4 to 86, and still the difficulty, I mean, to be fair, I could have gone a little bit quicker here. This was actually my first flying lap of Q2, which I did like 4 flying laps. This was my first flying lap, and this was the one where I went quickest because just didn't really get good laps in the rest of the time. So I could have definitely gone a little bit quicker here, but yeah, still probably not quick enough to get through to Q3. So it's interesting. This is a circuit that I really enjoyed driving in F1 2020, but then in this game, just, I don't know, I'm just really not there with it, and it's honestly just such a frustrating track. And yeah, we ended up going out, thankfully not dead last. We ended up P15 in qualifying, so we're ahead of Nicholas Latifi, but really not where we want to be, especially when we're in this championship fight, and we are currently level on points with Sergio Perez at the top. So we're going to have to pull something out of the bag here to even get a few points for our championship.
For years, the passionate Dutch fans have been easy to find trackside at races across Europe and throughout the world. Now at long last, they have a Grand Prix to call their own. It's a warm welcome once again to all of our viewers in the Netherlands and around the globe as we get underway for the Dutch Grand Prix. Zandvoort circuit then, 14 corners, 10 to the right and 4 to the left, with plenty of steep camber and elevation changes to keep our drivers on their toes throughout the 2.6 mile lap. And watch out for cars making use of the DRS zone into turn 1 to try and overtake. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about Shaw. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances, but what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another great race today.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. George Russell will begin today's event from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Giovinazzi, Sainz, Sergio Perez, and Gasly, Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton, and Guan Yu Zhou, Tsunoda, Stroll, Sebastian Vettel, and Ocon, Shaw, Latifi, Christian Lundgaard, and Callum Islands, Fernando Alonso, Mick Schumacher, Matsushita, and Nikita Mazepin. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
Alright, here we go for the Dutch Grand Prix in Season 4. It's a race we tend to struggle around quite a lot, but we're underway. We're starting on hard tyres, so not going to be the greatest getaway from us, and sure enough, Lundgaard manages to go flying past us on the soft tyres. Latifi gets a better run on us on the hard tyres, but we are going to try and go around the outside of him in through turn 1. We don't quite get it done, but we're still just there, and we're going to try and stick our nose up the inside of what I guess is turn 2, maybe turn 3, I guess you could call it there. And we have managed to keep that position, but we are, I believe, down 1 position because Lundgaard got such a good start, but I mean, he was on the soft tyres, we're on the hard tyres, so it's kind of to be expected. So this corner here that we've just gone through, that is the the trickiest part on the circuit for me. The AI just so much quicker through that corner. It's ridiculous. I just don't understand how they can carry so much speed. It's absolutely ridiculous. The rest of this lap, I'm actually pretty much there with the AI, to be honest. It's just that one corner, or maybe the two, because, you know, it's that long right-hander and then the slightly, well, I mean, the pretty crazy, slightly slower right-hander after it. That big section there, those two corners, is where I lose all of my time. I mean, it can be up to a second a lap sometimes. It's ridiculous as we go a little bit off the track around the final banked corner there, but managed to keep it just about in line, but lost a little bit of time, a little bit of space to Sebastian Vettel, who is the car up ahead of us now. So we're going to be looking to make our way through the field as we have another look at the start of the race here. And Charles Leclerc, I think that is, gets an amazing start from second on the grid. He's already side by side with George Russell, the pole sitter, but manages to get in front of him in through that next corner and is ahead going into the banking. And I think that is Antonio Giovinazzi, who's also got a pretty good start, and he is ahead of Carlos Sainz in the second Ferrari. So a good start from the Red Bull driver there, with Sergio Perez's teammate and previous race winner of the Belgian Grand Prix just behind him. As we are now somewhat catching up to the back of Esteban Ocon. He's on the, no sorry, this is Sebastian Vettel. He's on the hard tyres just like us, and after not having the best start for us, we are starting to get into a little bit of a groove, but this is quite a difficult track to overtake on. It's a fairly twisty track, and there's only really two real overtaking opportunities. That's into turn one and then into, I don't know what number corner it is, but kind of the second DRS zone into the chicane. This time we've got DRS on Vettel, and we're going to go for a move around the outside as we go into turn one, and we just about get it done before turn one, only just so, and we're up into P15, so we're back where we started because of Lundgaard, who is now up into, I think, like 13th, 12th place because he is starting on the soft tyres, but he will drop back because he'll be one of the first drivers to come into the pits. As further up the road, and we're looking at Antonio Giovinazzi right here. He is doing pretty well here, keeping with George Russell. Charles Leclerc has managed to get a bit of a gap up in the lead here, so couple of seconds gap for him down to George Russell and Giovinazzi in second and third.
Some information on Sonoda. They're slowing down. It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car.
My engineer just telling me there that Sonoda has an issue, and he's just a little bit further ahead of me, and sure enough, next couple of laps round, Sonoda has been caught up by this train. Now there's a massive train of cars, and we're actually trying to have a little bit of a move on Ocon here, having a look around the outside. He's on the medium tyres, but we can just, you know, because these guys have got caught up so badly, but then we're getting massively caught out coming around this final corner because I'm a lot quicker around that final corner. I can pretty much take it flat, whereas these other guys can't seem to do that. But we're once again sizing up Ocon. This time we're going to go to the outside of turn one as Sonoda is getting overtaken by Lance Stroll just ahead, and we're still looking at Ocon here because we just can't quite make the move stick. But we're going to go for a little bit of a long round the outside of the next hairpin, but we can't make it get done there either. It's just proving so difficult. Now Ocon going for a move, and Sonoda, you can see how much time Sonoda is losing on the straights here, but then Sonoda, he clips Ocon, and then we go on the curve trying to avoid it, managed to keep it going. That was a terrifying moment as Sonoda spun after tapping with Ocon. We took avoiding action, went a bit too much over the curbs, and the curbs are very dangerous here. Just got the car sideways, and was a very, very near incident for us. As you see here, Sonoda goes around, we just get slung round on the curb, and we'll watch it from Sonoda's POV here as he just doesn't have the power, and as we come around this long corner, he just taps the wheel of Ocon, and then you don't really quite see it, but we hit the curb. Looking at it from Vettel's view from behind, you can see Sonoda go around there, and you just see, look at me, just I saved that very, very well, I must say. I hit that curb, and as soon as I hit the curb, because pretty much all the curves on this track are vicious, they will spin you around straight away, so I knew that was probably going to happen, and I kind of preempted it and managed to stay alive pretty much. That could have been a race-ending crash, but a couple of laps later, I think actually maybe the next lap, we make a move around the outside of Vettel, just about get it done into turn two, and we have got that position back again after that very scary moment. But that has lost us some time. That has definitely lost us some time. It could cost us potential points at the end of this race. as we continue on, catching back up to Ocon once again here. We now seem to have some good pace. He's on the medium tyres, potentially those tyres going off a little bit as we go round the outside of turn 1, and we're just about going to keep it ahead of him as we get to turn 2, and we are ahead of Esteban Ocon. And now we've got Pierre Gasly up ahead, but he's just come into the pits for his first pit stop, so most likely will go off up ahead. As Max Verstappen, he's also just come in for his pit stop, but he's come out behind myself and Esteban Ocon, and he's going around the outside of Ocon through turn 1. They're still though side by side through turn 2, turn 3, coming up to the hairpin of turn 4, but Verstappen's just about managed to get up the inside and get the move done, and he's up another position, the home hero of course on this race day. As we continue on here, and we've now got Verstappen coming up behind us, but although Verstappen's not really in my race because we've still got to pit, he's now going to the end on hards. I don't really want to let him go, but we go way too late on the brakes into turn 1. That gives him a little bit of a sniff up the inside, and now we're 2 by 2 around the next corner, but he doesn't manage to keep it, and we will stay ahead of him for now. And I am going to fight this, because if I let him past, I'm not going to be able to fight him again, and we have a lot of open air elsewhere, so a lot of free air, so if we don't kind of try and defend from Verstappen a little bit, we're going to have a pretty boring, at least rest of this stint. So decided to get my shoulders out, get my elbows out a little bit there. As we are watching on with Sergio Perez, he is kind of stuck behind Lance Stroll here, who hasn't come into the pits yet. Perez has, along with Pierre Gasly behind, but yeah, those guys getting a little bit caught up. But then we have the race leader, Charles Leclerc. He's got a big lead at the front of the field, but he's doing a 2-stop, and I don't know why. We've seen Ferrari do this quite a few times this season when everybody else is adamant to be doing a 1-stop. The Ferraris decide to do a 2-stop. This time it doesn't look like Sainz is doing a 2-stop, but Leclerc, for whatever reason, is actually his teammate Carlos Sainz goes past, and now Sainz is going to be behind. He manages to just about get in front of this queue of Stroll, Perez and Gasly, but now Leclerc, he's going to be the fastest man on track possibly, although maybe not once we go onto some soft tyres, as we once again go a bit too late on the brakes into turn 1, just trying to keep ahead of Verstappen just for at least a little bit of a race here, because otherwise it's going to be quite boring. We are actually managing to somewhat stay with Gasly and Perez up ahead, but we're not quite close enough for DRS, so yeah, just not really going that well for us. But on lap 25 we are coming in for our one and only pit stop. We're going to go onto a set of soft tyres, so we should theoretically be one of the fastest cars on track at the end here. So we'll see how it goes and see what we can do, because we're going to drop out of the points quite considerably here, but we're going to now have to fight our way back up again. We come out in actually quite a lot of free air. No cars directly in front of us, no cars directly behind us. You can just see, I think, one of the Alpines way back there. And yeah, we're going to see how far up we can get, as the two Ferraris are now about to do battle here. We've seen them do battle quite a lot this season. Charles Leclerc on a 2-stop compared to Sainz on a 1-stop, so he has the pace here, but he's going for a move. Sainz is not really going to give up the place that easily. I mean, yeah, Leclerc's been put on a bad strategy, but that's not Sainz's fault. But Leclerc manages to get the move done pretty easily, and he's up another position. But I do think this is a mistake for Ferrari and for Leclerc, because I just don't think he's definitely not going to be able to get back up to the lead. He had a comfortable lead at the front of this field, and he's just thrown that away by deciding to go onto a 2-stop. As we continue on here, Verstappen, I think, may have actually come in again, so maybe he was on a 2-stop as well. Not really sure, because yeah, he's disappeared. Looks like Verstappen, for whatever reason, was also doing a 2-stop, which is pretty ridiculous in my opinion, since he started on softs, went to hards. We know that's definitely a viable strategy. But now we're trying to catch up to Lance Stroll up ahead, and maybe Verstappen, oh no, sorry, Verstappen did get past, didn't he, because I went into the pits. I'm totally forgetting what is going on in this race. But Pierre Gasly is DNFing from the race with a mechanical failure again. I think he's had at least 3, maybe even 4 mechanical failure DNFs this season. And literally the next lap round, Nobuharu Matsushita in the Williams, he DNFs in the exact same place. That's him parked up on the right. Literally the lap, the single lap after Gasly retired, Matsushita retires in the exact same place in the exact same way. So pretty crazy there, considering there wasn't anything really happening up to that point with DNFs or much action or anything. As we now have a look at, I think this is Perez, isn't it? On the back of Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. These two kind of joined at the hip at the moment, but Perez not quite able to do anything at this moment in time. There's only 2 more laps to go after this lap. They're already halfway through, so Perez is going to be wanting to see if he can get past the Ferrari driver and extend his lead at the front of the championship. As we continue on, lap number 35 of 36, we're catching up to Stroll and actually Hamilton on the hard tyres. Not as quick here because me and Stroll on the softs. I've also got Vettel on the softs behind me. He's a fair way back at the moment, but he is slowly actually catching up to us, and we are slowly catching the 2 drivers up ahead, but it's going to be tight to see if we can actually do anything. It's literally going to come down to the final lap and whether we're close enough to make a move on Stroll, possibly even make a move on Hamilton. We'll have to see how it goes. But Antonio Giovinazzi wins the Dutch Grand Prix. It's his first win of the season. So the defending world champion from season 3 gets his first win of the season in round 10, the Dutch Grand Prix. We're just going to continue on here, but as you can see, we're not quite close enough to Stroll and Hamilton up ahead, and we're sitting in P11, so that means that we are going to finish in 11th place. No points for us. This is the first time this season, and the first time in a long time, I think, that we've finished a race. We've actually finished a race, but we've not finished in the points. Very disappointing for our championship. We are going to lose our lead at the top of the championship. So this is definitely going to switch things up for the rest of the season.
Many doubted whether they could pull off the win here in Zandvoort, but they have done, and done it in spectacular style. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be proud of the victory they secured here.
So Antonio Giovinazzi wins the Dutch Grand Prix. George Russell, my teammate, comes home in P2. Charles Leclerc manages to get back to P3 after doing a 2-stop, but if he just stuck with a 1-stop, I think it would have been a pretty easy win for him, and he would have been leading the championship by a considerable margin with myself out of the points and Sergio Perez down there in P5, but I'm still P3. Good for Leclerc, and he also gets the fastest lap as well. We finished P11, just outside the points. Really disappointing there. It's going to lose us our lead at the top, and we're probably going to drop down a little bit further. Gasly and Matsushita both retiring from this race, and as we look at the driver standings, sure enough, Sergio Perez now leads the championship 4 points ahead of Charles Leclerc in second. We are now down to third, but we're still only 10 points behind Perez, 6 points behind Leclerc, so it's close. And then Russell is 4 points behind us. Then you've got the 2 McLarens separated by a single point. Lando Norris just 1 point ahead of Verstappen, and then there's no changes further down, but Giovinazzi also getting a little bit closer to that top group with that win. And in the Constructors, we are still ahead in the Constructors for TGL Motorsport, but there's now only 20 points between us and Red Bull in second place. Ferrari move up to third with a pretty good result this time compared to McLaren, and McLaren dropped to fourth, but as usual, that top battle is really, really close. And I mean, it's now going to be it was kind of a 3-way battle for second place. It's now going to become a 4-way battle for the win of the Constructors. So this is shaping up to be a good season. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.